Hey guys, Lexi Stead here. Today I'm going to talk about some of the reasons behind why we create illness within our body. Now, you heard me right. I said create illness, not just drawing the short end of the stick, not just having bad luck, not just having bad genetics or being at the wrong place at the wrong time, but create illness. It's something that we don't even realize we're doing it until, boom, we have that diagnosis, and then we're left with, what happened? How could this be? I was feeling so good. I was doing so much. I was a good person. How can I suddenly be so sick? So, as some of you know, I had a long journey with autoimmune disease. I specifically had ulcerative colitis, which is an irritable bowel disease, where your colon becomes completely ulcerated and just bleeds out constantly. And every time you eat, your digestive tract is trying to move food through as quick as possible to avoid the irritation. So I would eat something, and within 3 hours, it would be completely through my body, and I was running to the bathroom every 10 minutes for hours and hours on end. And I lived with moderate ulcerative colitis for about 15 years. Since I was 17. I was diagnosed when I was 17. And it finally started to clear up right around 31, 32 is when I had some significant healing. So my experience with ulcerative colitis towards the end was extreme pain, up night and day, 24 hours a day, in the bathroom, constantly. And it was not pleasant. I struggled with it. For a long time, I really pushed and tried to heal it and tried to fix it. I was not at peace with it. I wanted it gone. I was angry. I couldn't believe this had happened to me because I was someone as a child who always tried to be the perfect child. I always did everything everyone told me to. I did all my chores. I kept my room really clean. I was well behaved. I even ate the right foods. I, did my best to avoid sugar and everything that was considered junk food as a kid. I got all straight A's in school. I did all the extra credit the teachers wanted me to. I did everything. I was a good person. So when I was 17 years old and I knew something wasn't right, but I felt ashamed that my body wasn't functioning properly, so I hid it for a long time. I probably started having symptoms somewhere in probably right around 16. And I hid it for a long time because I was ashamed. I was really big on being that image of that perfect child and that perfect person. And so it got so bad that I finally was fainting in one of my workout classes. And that's when I had to tell somebody. I had no strength left. I wasn't absorbing any nutrition. And I had to go to the doctor. And I got that diagnosis. And I just was shocked. I was shocked. And for a good 13 of those 15 years, like I said, I tried everything to fix it. I couldn't understand how this could happen to such a good person. And everybody around me would say the same thing. We can't believe this could have happened to you. You were the one that was doing everything right. I even went to college at 16. I finished school early and went to college to be the first one in my family to get a degree. Like, I was the one that was supposed to live up to all of these expectations and be the one to make it and make something of myself. So everyone was shocked, and I bought into that mentality that I just was unlucky. I drew the short straw for whatever reason. There was no history of this autoimmune disease in my family at all, so that was another thing that was kind of like out of the blue. No one expected me to have this. And at the time, I tried everything, and nothing really worked. I got some relief from holistic medicine and some relief from some of the medications, but nothing really worked until I really decided to kind of give up the struggle and give up trying to fix it and trying to heal, because I had a sense, I think at that point, that there must be more to this and that I just didn't understand it. And I started seeking out some more spiritually minded mentors, more of a metaphysical way of looking at life. And it was really true to me because now, looking in hindsight, this all started. My body kind of giving me all these signals really started back when I was 5 years old. And I started school and found out that I was so different from everybody, being clairvoyant, being clairaudient, being able to talk with the animals, being able to see all the energies and other things around me that people couldn't see. And I decided then to stop being who I was, because I was being teased, I was being bullied, I was being called a liar by teachers. I would tell people I have a unicorn guide that, you know, has always been here throughout my entire life. And when I was a little girl, I used to be able to see him. And I remember telling people that, and my parents, you know, believed me because I was extremely sincere, and they never considered that it was, you know, an imaginary fantasy that they had to squash. But the moment I got to school, I was called a liar, and I realized no one else could see unicorns. No one else could see the fairies in the gardens. And I really felt like something was wrong with me. So this comes to, for me personally, and for what I see with a lot of people, and especially with autoimmune disease, because if you think about what autoimmune disease really is, it's your body attacking itself. It's you attacking yourself. It's you not living your truth. It's you coming up with all these excuses of why you can't be the person that you truly want to be, why you can't just let go of other people's expectations and live your authentic life. That's at the heart of autoimmune disease, which is, I mean, one of the main types of diseases in our country right now. And, I lost my thought there for a second. Yeah, the main reason behind the autoimmune disease and mine was I was separating myself all this time, all these years in my childhood and throughout until I was a teenager. I just kept separating myself further and further and trying harder and harder to meet the expectations of others around me, to be normal, to have normal dreams, and to, you know, do all the work in school, to do all the work at home, to be that well-behaved, well-mannered, very kind, polite, you know, never doing or saying anything to hurt anyone's feelings type of child. And the more and more I did that, the more I forgot who I truly was. And I forgot how this world truly works from an energetic level, from a spiritual level, because we're all spiritual beings having a human experience. And we forget that. We identify so much with what our culture has taught us it means to be a human. And we forget that we're spiritual first. There is so much more to us than this physical body that we are in at this time. And that's our truth. It's that we want to get back to. It's that allowing state. It's that freedom, that liberation, that empowerment of ourselves, and realizing that we don't have to be any different. We don't have to live up to others' expectations, because everybody can choose. Everyone has free will. Everyone can choose to live their life authentically, to live their truth. So it's not our responsibility to do things to try to make other people feel better. It's not our responsibility to dim our own lights so other people who are, you know, not having a great experience feel better. It's not our responsibility to be careful not to hurt other people's feelings when we are speaking our truth. Of course, I don't mean bullying someone or picking on someone, but when you're living as your true self, you have no desire to hurt anybody. You come from the heart, and there's really no other way to truly live in peace and in alignment. So that was the main part I realized in hindsight. My body created autoimmune disease because I needed an excuse to step back from the reality that I was living and seeing. I didn't know at the time that I was creating my reality by the thoughts I was entertaining and by what I was focusing on. But I did have a sense that I needed to get out and I needed to escape. So when I was in my second year of college and I got diagnosed, I could suddenly, in a way, I know this probably sounds strange, because I was upset, I was angry, I didn't want to be sick, but in a way, it was a sigh of relief, because my quiet, introverted, peaceful, nature-loving self got to step back and stop pushing so hard. I got to come outside more and relax and lay down because my body was too physically drained and weak to do much. And of course, I still pushed. I still pushed and I still tried to finish college because in my mind, I hadn't changed my thoughts yet. You know, that's what I was still trying to do. But every time I try to push forward and hold a job and finish school, I would always get a flare-up and get sick again and be knocked right back down. And this cycle happened, like I said, for a good 13 years. This cycle would happen over and over again, and I'd find myself angry and frustrated, not realizing how I was creating this and how I was contributing to this. But it's okay. It's okay, because it's all part of the journey of self-discovery. I learned a little bit more about myself every time, and I let myself off the hook a little bit more every time. So that's one huge reason why we create illness in our bodies, even if we don't see it at first. It's really to be able to step back and stop having to live up to other people's expectations. It gives you a moment to pause. It gives you a moment to say, no thank you. I'm not going to work right now. I'm not going to go out and do all these things that I am expected to do or feel obligated to do. It's time for me to take care of myself. And I think if more people shifted their perspective as from having to fight their illness and from having to tell the story of how sick they are, if they could shift that just a little, they would really discover a whole new way of being. They would discover the meaning behind their illness when their body started to show these symptoms. One of the things that you can think about when you are, having a chronic disease is you can think about, how is this disease helping me? Because that right there, instead of how it's attacking me and how it's holding me back, which is where we tend to go, if you ask yourself, how is this helping me? And just allow the answer to come, maybe not right then, maybe not tomorrow, but over the next week and month, just keep asking yourself and looking around, how is this helping me? Do I get to rest more? Do I get to enjoy life a little more? Do I get the support of people around me that before maybe I didn't feel supported, and now I've got all this love coming to me? Maybe it's helping me to learn how to receive love and help from other people, whereas maybe before I was someone who had to be, that superstar and do it all and take on all the challenges head on by myself, and I didn't want to ask for help. Maybe it's helping me do that and help me receive that. Maybe it's, helping me really stop going in the direction I was going, which was destructive to my well-being, and I get to make a choice now to choose myself first, to listen to my heart and choose my desires first. This is what it's all about. It's sad and depressing, and of course we feel empathy for those that do get sick, especially when it's not us, and of course we want to help them. And I would say absolutely, if you feel like you want to be a support to someone, if you feel like there's something that you have to offer, then by all means do that. But do know that you're not responsible for another person's illness. Whether it's your spouse or your child or your parent, you are not responsible for them. And it's okay to choose yourself first and to know that they can choose to look at their illness a different way, just as we all can choose to look at our illness a different way. You don't have to be free of symptoms to feel freedom and to be liberated and empowered in your life. That's just a myth. It's just a myth that you can only feel better later once your body is healed. And that's something I proved to myself over and over again, because I did finally choose to feel better before my body healed at all. I mean, I'd be laying on the floor in the bathroom just in pain, just, hoping that I would either die or something would heal, just hoping and just holding on to that. There's got to be something better. And then I started to feel better before the symptoms even disappeared. I started to feel more liberated, just allowing everything to be as it was. So that's one way you can look behind your illness. That's one thing that is really, I think, pertinent to most people, is trying to live a life that's not true to who you are, that doesn't really resonate with you, doesn't feel liberating to you, doesn't feel peaceful to you. And that's your body just showing symptoms, just getting sick. It's just showing after time, just how hard we've been on it, just how hard. And it's got to give you these messages to get you to stop. So if you can look at it in that way, you will be able to make a little bit more peace with what's going on. And then once you take that resistance off the illness, everything shifts. Everything shifts. And, only you will know what your journey holds for you, because not everybody heals from their illnesses. And not everybody has to, because like I said, you can have symptoms and still feel liberated and still feel empowered in your life and still find things to enjoy. And another reason, so it was the expectations of others. Oh, and this is another big one for me, why I believe my disease showed up in my gut, because there's lots of different diseases, right? I mean, there's cancer, there's heart disease, there's diabetes, there's all sorts of these illnesses that take hold of us. Mine was very specific to my colon and my digestive tract. And the other thing I discovered on my journey as I was coming back to living more in my truth is it appeared to me, and it came to me, that my gut was where I would swallow down all my emotions as a kid. Back again, sorry about that, the phone died. So I was saying the other main reason why people do develop illness, especially in certain parts of their body, is holding on to emotions. For me as a child, anything I felt that was uncomfortable, anger, especially fear. I was an extremely sensitive child, so I had a lot of emotional turmoil when I was around other people and in particular places. I would swallow it down. I would swallow down my fear, and that was how I coped. I would just swallow it down and just numb myself and suppress it so I wouldn't have to feel it. And as I was doing that all of those years since I was a little toddler, it was just the energy of the emotions that weren't being expressed was just constantly being held in my gut, held in my stomach, held in my digestive tract, where I was swallowing and swallowing and swallowing. So one of the things I discovered when I was first starting to really heal my body is I had to start feeling through some of those emotions that I had suppressed for so long. There was a lot of terror there, a lot of anger and rage at not being allowed to be who I was about, and not just that people stopped me, but that I felt the need to stop myself from living my truth, that I felt the need to meet expectations of others instead of just being okay with who I was. So there's different areas of the body that are affected when we swallow down emotions. I have found, and I do believe, one of the big things behind cancer, no matter how you got that cancer, is it's there to kind of show you how to love yourself. Those tumors and the places in your body where the cancer shows up has a lot to say about where energy is blocked and where healing and love and coming back to yourself is needed. So for me, the gut, it's all about emotion, suppressed emotion, especially fear in that solar plexus area. And then I also had another disease in between that time period, which I had severe liver inflammation. And that was only the span of maybe like 7-8 months where I was dealing with that, but that had to do with rage and anger. The liver is where we hold and store a lot of anger. And for me, it was all about releasing all of that pent up anger that I had held on to for so long. So emotions are meant to be our messengers. They're meant to be felt and allowed to move away from us. They're not meant to be passengers. We're not meant to hold on to our emotions, suppress our emotions, stop ourselves from being afraid, stop ourselves from being angry or uncomfortable or anxious. You know, a lot of times anxiety is just a symptom of unexpressed anger or deep fear. And it's more socially acceptable to be anxious than it is to be a raging person or to be an extremely fearful person. And a lot of times people just are more willing to go into anxiety than they are willing to actually feel what's underneath it. And over time, the emotions, all that suppressed energy wears down in particular areas of our body. And that's where the disease and illness shows up. Another point I'll talk about today, which is the last point, and there's many reasons why people get illness in their body. I obviously don't know them all. There's no way I could, no way anybody could. That's what a journey and a self-discovery is for, so you can get to the root of your illness and what's behind it. But one of the other things, and I find this especially true for children, because you think about young children, especially those who come in really early on with some type of illness or something, a birth defect or something, where their bodies just aren't working from the get-go. In those cases, I truly, truly believe no matter how it happened, no matter whether it was something in the parent's environment that supposedly caused the illness or something else the child maybe was exposed to, but I truly believe we all agree to have the main experiences that we come here to have to help ourselves grow, but also to help others grow. And children are great teachers. And I can speak for my own children having a lot of food sensitivities and some allergies when they were younger. It was all here to help me. Their asthma, their eczema, their reactions were all here to help me learn how to let go more of controlling. They taught me how to be more at ease when I wasn't feeling well. and to be okay with what is, even if we don't like what's happening. And I noticed as I improved my emotional well-being and I took less responsibility for my children's experiences, even though I didn't want them to have these experiences, of course I wanted to heal them. Only every parent wants to heal their child. But it really taught me a lot about just loving unconditionally. And when I've asked my parents about what I went through, and it was, of course, more severe than allergies, what I was going through then, and they talk about how I taught them a lot about going down to the depths of some of this really scary, unknown physical stuff, but then being able to come out of it again and realizing that life is not a big deal and that it's okay to have all these things we don't like, and we don't have to manage and control them. We can choose to see it differently. And it really helped my parents learn how to kind of move through some of these things in their own life with more ease, just being on that journey with me. So I think a lot of times, especially our children, but also other people, we come in and it's not necessarily about healing the illness, but it's more about just being accepting and allowing it to help everyone as it's meant to be, and possibly helping to open the hearts of those around them. So that's what I wanted to share today. If you have any questions or comments, leave them below, or any ideas for any more videos or topics, or even personal questions. I'm pretty open and pretty vulnerable, so feel free to ask away. See you next time. Bye.